know I love Jasmine Crockett. But even I have never been as inspired as that lady in green looks. Bro, that lady in green looked like she about to turn her life around. Hey, that's how I look Sundays. You know what I mean? That's how. Never could have made it without Crockett. Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. My name is Reese Waters, and this is Street Politics. Now, of all the videos that I put out recently, one of my favorites, and I feel like one of the most consequential, was the one I put out on July 4th. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all got Yahtzees all in the July 4th celebration. Not to mention the stars and bars with the Confederate shirts and the Confederate flags. Is there anybody that our military has fought that you won't co-opt in the name of patriotism? That's exactly what I'm talking about. And you wonder why people don't feel proud to be an American. How could they when the Confederacy is roaming around the Capitol? And I need to know how you can push for the delegitimization of democracy itself and call yourself a patriot. That's wild. In which I talk about the litany of ways in which the most self-proclaimed patriotic among us are actively working to undermine this experiment we call America. And chief among them, one of their strongest weapons to do so is gerrymandering. You might recall this little ditty. President Donald Trump's allies have encouraged Texas Republicans to redraw the state's maps to create more House districts that favor Republicans ahead of next year's midterms. A bid to make some blue or blue-leaning seats more GOP-leaning would necessitate moving Republican-leaning voters out of safer red districts. In wave years, those now less red seats could become vulnerable to a Democratic pickup, which is sometimes known as a dummymander, a play on gerrymandering. Texas is currently facing a lawsuit over the congressional maps the state drew in 2021 after claims that the maps underrepresented non-white Texas voters. The Department of Justice originally filed the lawsuit during the Biden administration, but withdrew from the challenge after Trump returned to office, which would be kind of like justice itself deciding to back out of the building the moment that Trump took office. Now let's get this out of the way right now. When faced with this fork in the road moment of whether or not we can let the people speak on how we should proceed, or if we should just decide how we want to proceed and what is best for us, and figure out a way to just wedge the people inside of our agenda, it's clear how they decide to move. And also, moreover, as a party, the Republicans, when faced with changing demographics, what is it that they decide to do? They decide to whitewash the entire country and gerrymander, as opposed to actually presenting a platform that might be more popular. They decide, let's just cut down on the number of people that can vote, and also specify the kinds of people that can vote, which, by the way, what that admission is your platform is garbage. You can't simultaneously gerrymander and try and defend your agenda, because if your agenda was popular enough, you wouldn't do that. Now, would you?
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
I have never cheated on any test that I was prepared for, because why would that make any sense? Also, I don't know if the statute of limitations is up on that. I've never cheated on any test. No, y'all snitching?
I'm a rat. I ain't no snitch.
I would also add that the justification for Trump defying judges' orders and deciding that he knows what's best for all Americans has been what? That the people have spoken, right? It's been that the people have spoken has been the justification that was used for Trump just being Trump and behaving like Trump, even though he's supposed to be in this elevated office full of all sorts of laws and regulations. However, what you are telling me by virtue of all of this is you don't even believe that now, do you? You don't even believe it. You don't believe that mandate any more than you believe those allegations against Obama and Beyonce. And speaking of which, has the Beehive got on him yet? No, really. It's about time. Because let somebody say something sideways about lemonade. You run them off the internet. This man got a whole allegation. What get?
So the Republicans have been saying that they want to gerrymander Democrats out of their seats this year. So for the last few weeks, I've been saying that Democrats need to gerrymander Republicans out of their seats.
So Trump and everyone change the lines in my district. It's time to fight fire with fire. I call it Operation Get Back.
Well, it looks like somebody's been listening. Looks like Gavin Newsom is saying that they will gerrymander Republicans out of their seats in California should they go out with this ridiculous redistricting scam. Now, why is this important? I know you don't like gerrymandering, and neither do I. If I had it my way, it would be just like Canada, where they have an independent redistricting committee for all across the country. But here's the deal. Right now, Democratic states play by a different set of rules than Republican states. We have several blue states with these independent redistricting committees where Republicans are given seats out of fairness. But Republican states don't follow that playbook. You think Ron DeSantis gives us seats? You think that the North Carolina legislature gives us seats? Absolutely not. So I say that it's time to fight fire with fire. Our states have the population advantage. And when we gerrymander enough Republicans, it's going to be pretty much impossible for them to win the House again. Because the only thing Republicans understand is losing power. Once that happens, you bring them to the table and you force them into federal legislation to ban partisan gerrymandering in every single state across the country.
Now, there is some good news, which is to say, MAGA is MAGA. They could mess up a whole shoe tying. They could mess up a TV dinner. They could mess up a cross burning where you have all of the materials. So naturally, a whole gerrymander. Some Republicans, including members of Texas's congressional delegation, oppose the idea over concerns about jeopardizing their own seats if they miscalculate with the new districts. A recent test case unfolded after the 2010 U.S. Census when Republicans who controlled the Texas legislature looked to maximize their party's seats across the map by drawing reliable GOP voters into nearby Democratic districts and turning them red. But by 2018, a Trump midterm election year, that aggressive approach came back to bite them, with a favorable national climate and explosive population growth driven almost entirely by people of color. Texas Democrats picked up 12 seats in the state house, ousted 2 longtime GOP members of Congress, and narrowed their lead margins in statewide races. See, that's what happens when you oppose science. That's what happens. That's what happens when you oppose science. Soon enough, you're going to have to put together a scheme that's going to require some legitimate information and analysis. And y'all believe in people off of X. Now, this topic lends itself to all kinds of media angles, and I needed some help. That's why it was the perfect time to call on the sponsor of today's video, Ground News. Because the most discouraging thing for me whenever there's breaking news or I'm researching a story is having to sift through clickbait and misinformation. And that's not to mention the media conglomerates swallowing up local news outlets to push their agenda. Ground News will give you the total number of articles published on a specific story, but it'll also give you the political bias for each source and story based on ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. Now let's see here. Texas GOP unveils new planned congressional map, a whopping 169 sources, with most of them being in the center. But look at the left and right. It's almost like you guys are playing well together with a pretty even split. But even so, these headlines vary wildly. On the right, we get Texas Democrats consider fleeing the state in bid to block Republican redistricting efforts, as well as Trump and Republicans race to redraw Texas congressional map as Democrats threaten legal war. Meanwhile, on the left, we get analysis, no, both sides don't gerrymander the same, and Republicans gerrymander the hell out of Texas and eliminate 5 Democratic seats. You can also get the ownership information of a news source and find blind spots, stories that aren't getting as much coverage on either the left or the right. Check them out at ground.news/Reese and use my link to save 40% on the same Vantage plan I use for unlimited access to all their features. Again, that's ground.news/Reese and use my link to save 40% on their Vantage plan. And I'll see you there. Now, this is Tarrant County Judge Tim O'Hare. And if you wanted to maybe give Republicans any benefit of any doubt about their motivations, just watch him explaining the process.
My way of doing it would be to have maps out there, or a map, whatever it is, that is presented, open, and then another 2 weeks or whatever it is goes by, 2.5, I guess, if you did it in May, where people have the opportunity to look at it, weigh in. If we pass this, we're hiring a firm, and then a process will come out and things will come open. I get some of you don't want it to happen, fine, then you can vote that way. Staff did not choose the firm. These are people that I researched and found.
How many phases do you anticipate?
I don't know, but I don't answer to you. So,
well, you put something on the
vote the way you want.
Aha. Yeah, this is that old Scott Jennings, I don't answer to you. I know I'm in a back and forth. I know I'm in a whole panel discussion, but I don't answer to you. I wonder why that is. You giving a whole explanation, but you don't answer to her for the innocuous question of how many phases will there be? I can't think of a more innocent question for you to out yourself, sir, but you wasn't done.
Well, you put something on the agenda.
Vote the way you want.
I will, but you put something on the damn agenda, so you ought to be able to speak to it. If you didn't have staff research it for you, you ought to be able to speak to it. So what is happening? What's happening after the initial? What's happening after the initial phase?
What is the initial phase?
It's in your contract.
I just told you. Well, if you've read the contract, you know what happens. Why are you asking me?
What happens after the initial phase? This contract says it's for the initial phase.
I think I just went through that whole thing sitting here.
Well, if you read it, why are you asking me? I wrote it down. It's all right there. Huh? What how many is it? What I write? What I write? Whatever is right there is what which section? The whole thing. I put it out there. Yeah, it's all, look, I have given a number of reports for books I didn't read. I didn't have my name on them, no. And by the way, in case you wanted to give that man some grace for just being underqualified or uneducated about what it is that he's speaking about, how about this one?
Harken back to, just, a handful of years ago, anytime a Republican office holder was called a racist, what'd they do? They apologized, they backtracked, they tiptoed. They're not doing that as much anymore. Right. They're saying, I'm not falling for that garbage. And so now it's weakened that argument. We've heard it so often. I mean, the reality is, if you're a Republican office holder and you haven't been called a racist, you probably hadn't done a thing.
Sure, right. I mean, you've just been waiting in the wings.
You've just been collecting your check and sitting back, fat and happy.
Hey, Black MAGA. Yeah, I want y'all to see something. Yeah, he just called all y'all stupid. Yeah, he just let the whole cat out of them. He not even trying. So all that song and dance you do, he not participating with the production. That's not what's going on. That's a problem because he's standing in the middle of the stage. So y'all dancing around him not going to look good with him standing in the middle of the stage, refusing to sing and dance with y'all. So there it is right there. And by the way, just as I said in the beginning, when faced with the ability to serve voters with an agenda and a plan that might convince them to vote for you, they decide to go and end around and gerrymander and repress the vote and voter intimidation and all. I mean, literally everything but offering them, I don't know, stuff they might vote for. That's how far they not even, I mean, really, how I need to know the amount of mental gymnastics it takes to willingly vote for people while ignoring this is how far they'll go to let the people's voice be heard. I mean, really, honestly, like if I voted for a party that engaged in this, I would have to go home like, this can't be right. You know what I mean? This can't be right because there's no way they doing all of this to prevent the rest of the people from voting if this is at all decent. That's just common sense, but hey, common sense apparently has left us long ago. But just as a party, they have decided to divert from actually offering the people something that they might vote for. Here we see, well, if you ain't been called racist, you've not done a thing in the Republican Party, not asking why, not trying to fix the problem. Why is it always Republicans? None of that. Well, if you ain't been called racist, then that means you probably ain't been doing racist stuff. So get to it. So with that kind of attitude and that kind of mindset, the question becomes, what is the Democrats' plan to combat this? And I can tell you one thing. It better be aggressive.
Gavin Newsom just dropped the hammer on Trump and Abbott. I told you what we're doing is working. Remember how Trump and Abbott just said that they want to change the lines in our district? Just like we've been talking about, Gavin Newsom just said he'd return the favor. Strongly worded letters won't fix this. Audacity will. More governors need to do this. Thank you, Gavin Newsom.
Now that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about because this is going on in more places than just Texas, which means it can go on in more places than just Texas.
This is something I wish more of us would talk about. As a progressive living in a red state, I have a lot of friends and colleagues in more progressive states who are always questioning why people in red states continue to vote against their own self-interest. Therefore, blaming people without really understanding how Republicans have been playing the long game for years. And if you're anything like me, someone who didn't grow up in politics or was very engaged in politics until recently, you may not even know the term gerrymandering. So in a fair election, voters choose their leader. But with gerrymandering, politicians draw district maps to choose their voters instead. That means no real competition. And this shit compounds, right? Because first they draw the districts, then they win easily without competition. Then people feel like their vote doesn't matter. They become disenfranchised, and then they don't vote in future elections. So the system stays broken. This is exactly what Governor Abbott is trying to do in Texas. But it's not just limited to Texas. This shit happened here in my own district. In Oklahoma's 5th Congressional District, we actually elected a Democrat, Kendra Horn, who's a dear friend, by the way. She was an outstanding leader who truly represented the people of Oklahoma. But as soon as Republicans figure out that our district was changing and that people were demanding better candidates, they started redrawing the districts. They moved Democratic-leaning neighborhoods into other districts and then moved more conservative areas into this district. But this isn't new. This has been part of their strategy for years, hell, decades. So in many red states, voters aren't choosing their leaders. Maps are. Even when the population shifts or when public opinion changes, the system is rigged to stay the same. And that's how red states stay red.
Oklahoma. just when I thought you couldn't stoop any lower. And no, that's not because you trying to get a view of Ryan Walters' screen. Here y'all go with this nonsense. Yeah, well, look, the people have spoken. I think we've all spoken up about where we stand with this. It's time for the actual lawmakers to do what they do.
Republican leaders in Texas showed their cards laying out a proposed congressional map, redistricted, that could help them gain 5 additional House seats in next year's midterm. The tactic dates back to our founding fathers. It's called gerrymandering. It's one that the president has publicly supported for weeks now.
I think we get 5, and there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one, and
so
that'll be 5.
Are you calling then for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats. But we have a couple of other states where we'll pick up seats also.
Now, remember again, this man's supposed to have a mandate, right? This man's supposed to have a mandate. The people have spoken. That's what they was all saying, right? I guess they meant some people. And those some people are the judges and the county commissioners and the governors, not the people.
But Democrats control some states too, and they say, hey, not so fast. We're going to fight back and change our maps to our advantage in places such as California, Pelosi's home state. We're going to ask Speaker Pelosi about that, as well as Speaker Johnson. Good to see you, Speaker Pelosi. Let's start with redistricting, because Texas Republicans earlier today unveiled their highly anticipated map of how they would redraw districts in their state to basically flip 5 Democratic House seats, make them Republican. Under this map, for example, Democratic Congressman Greg Cesar's seat is completely eliminated. Congressman Henry Cuellar, Congressman Vicente Gonzalez's districts will be made more Trump-leaning. Now, Democratic governors, as I don't need to tell you, in places such as California, are vowing to fight this tit for tat. Do you support that? Should California respond with their own redistricted map to give Democrats more seats?
Yes, but before I go into that.
Nope. Ain't no before I go into that. There is one suitable response to that question.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
Nancy Pelosi, they done mocked your husband being assaulted. They named the whole stock ban after you. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Byron Donalds didn't leave slips all over the Congressional House bathroom floor. Come on.
Let me just say that what you just described was the elimination of many minority seats in Texas. And that's unfortunate because the gerrymandering that they're doing is also undermining the diversity that we need to have in the Congress. As far as California is concerned, we would go to a commission. We have a commission-based redistricting. Instead of the gerrymandering that they're doing in Texas, we've had a commission that has drawn the lines in California. We would alter that a bit in order to pick up the seats that we need. It's not necessary if Texas doesn't do this, but the Texas redistricting and what the president has talked about in other parts in the country is indicative of the poverty of ideas that the Republicans have, and they have to resort to this kind of gimmickry in order to try to hold the House. But we will hold the House, and we will participate in California if Texas decides to go forward.
I think the commission should just be full of all the people that Trump has attacked this month. Put them all on the commission and let them handle it. Yes, including Oprah and Beyonce.
Your governor, Gavin Newsom, said that the 2026 election is being rigged by the Republicans. Is that how you see it?
Absolutely. But it's who they are. But again, so much is at stake in this election. We fully intend to take back the House. We only need about 3 seats. I want 30, of course. And they know that. That's why they have to go into this rigging process.
Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? Right? Because we doing all of this because our ideas are so popular. That's why we need to because everybody loves, what do you say, 85%, 90% love MAGA, but they gerrymandering? I mean, really, he don't put two sentences back to back that go together. That's how much he contradicts himself. You have to have like an 8-second attention span in order to still be on MAGA at this point. Yes, you have been accused by a number of exes as having exactly that, an 8-second attention span. That's why I know. That's why I know. It takes one to know one.
Hey, Jay, great to be with you. Yes, coming to you from 4th District of Louisiana here. I've been working through the district throughout the day, and everybody's watching all this closely. I'll tell you that the redistricting is the responsibility, it's the prerogative of the states, and so not really my lane. But I would take issue with what Speaker Pelosi said, is that, apparently, I think California, by my understanding, they have to amend their constitution to redistrict again. So we'll see what happens in Texas and around the country. I'll tell you this, Jake, I am confident that when it comes to these congressional seats, we can win any seat in any district in America because we have a great story to tell in the midterm election, and I'm very bullish about the outcome, regardless of how the redistricting comes out.
Now, he been listening to Trump. He been listening to Trump. So let me get this straight. So Nancy Pelosi said they wouldn't be doing this if they felt like they could actually win elections. They're trying to suppress minority votes. And if they do this in Texas, then we will counter it in California. And his objection was not that they're silencing minority votes, not that they wouldn't need to do this if they were so popular. No, his objection, well, I think they need to change the Constitution in California. Hey, wait a minute. I want to object to what she said. They got to change the Constitution before they do that. I mean, she had us dead to rights with the minority votes thing. You know what I mean? Like, what you want me to say about that? Hey, the judge said if you ain't being accused of being racist, then you're not working. I'm working for my money. I be racist as hell.
Yeah, so first of all, it hasn't quite been said clearly that Texas has always been found to be intentionally discriminatory. And so I want y'all to understand the makeup of my state. The state is a majority minority state. And what this legislature historically has done is what they plan to do again, is to dilute the voices of people of color in order to make sure that they can get to where they're trying to go. Okay.
Y'all know I love Jasmine Crockett. And shout out to Al Green behind there. What did Lauren Boebert say? The pimp came? I got a whole video coming out about Lauren Boebert. She gonna get this work. Y'all know I love Jasmine Crockett. But even I have never been as inspired as that lady in green looks. Bro, that lady in green looked like she about to turn her life around. Hey, that's how I look Sundays. You know what I mean? That's how. Never could have made it without Crockett.
We saw this Department of Justice decided to put out a letter. And what did they do? We only have 4 seats that are represented by black folk, where the vast majority of the people that get to decide who they have represent them are black. They decided to attack 3 of the 4 seats that we have in the state. They decided to go after a Latina. They are specifically deciding to splinter the communities of common interest, as well as just blatantly say, we are going to dilute minority voices.
And just in case y'all doubt her, hey, Judge, one more time.
I mean, the reality is, if you're a Republican office holder and you haven't been called a racist, you probably hadn't done a thing.
Sure, right.
So we know that the courts, ever since we've had a Voting Rights Act, have always found this state to be intentionally discriminatory. That is what they are going to do. So I need people of color to understand that the scheme of the Republicans has consistently been to make sure that they mute our voices so that they can go ahead and have an oversized say in this. So I fully anticipate that's exactly where they're going with this map. It's the only way to do it. We didn't understand how we got to the map that they gave us last time because that state was grown by 95% people of color. They went out of their way to make sure that we got 0 new seats for people of color. So that's exactly what they're going to do this time.
It's ongoing litigation right now that challenges the constitutionality of the current map and the legality of the current map as it relates to the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and all of our legal options will continue to be on the table.
Yeah, that's right. There's ongoing litigation about the current map, the one they want to gerrymander even further. And by the way, no, Jasmine Crockett wasn't done.
You know, a lot of people kind of look at this and be like, well, this is a Texas problem. No, it's an all of us problem. It's the entire country as well as the world that needs to be concerned. Because first of all, when we think about the fact that this administration has talked a lot about a third term, whoever controls the House is going to be the person who has to certify the election. So, you know, these guys don't play by any rules. They break everything. And right now, they are trying to not only rig the midterms, but potentially rig the next election by making sure that we have more of these complacent, complicit folk continuing to run the House, because honestly, they just do whatever he tells them to do. They don't do what the Constitution calls for, and they don't do what their oath calls for.
Now, I, for one, would love to hear, because obviously I understand from Mike Johnson's pivoting and shifting out here looking like Mr. Bojangles. I understand from Mike Johnson what we're going to get from the GOP. I understand where they're going to try and go with this. The devil's in the details, right? I would love to hear from Black MAGA the justification for this.
White man just a joy to be around. Gave us discipline, jobs, put structure in our lives, took us out the jungle. And what we do to show our appreciation? We march up and down the street. We vote.
Aggressively targeting communities of color because you can't reliably attract votes. I mean, really. They might as well have gave y'all dunce caps with how they moving. And it didn't take them long, did it? No, like right after the election, it didn't take them long. It'd be like immediately after the election, they just started erasing everything black. Like, I don't know what y'all was on, which they also did, by the way. But I want to give a shout out to Isaiah Martin, because when it comes to this particular issue, he has been on top of it and one of my favorite people to listen to. In New York, you can get this smoke too. Dead ass.
So I just saw this and I just had to come on here and say something. I need New York to get with the program. You know who also doesn't have an appetite? The 40 million people that Republicans just took their food assistance. They don't have an appetite for you not to fight back. Republicans are going for the jugular right here in Texas, saying that they want to gerrymander Democrats out of their seats. Now's not the time to argue about fairness. You got to go and get them back. When blue states go and gerrymander Republicans the same way they're coming after us, that's how we can make sure that Republicans won't be able to win the House again. You don't like gerrymandering New York? Me neither. But you know what? Sitting back and waiting for Republicans to act right won't get us anywhere. And when we use leverage, that's how we can force Republicans to support banning gerrymandering in all 50 states.
Shout out to Isaiah Martin, as well as Jasmine Crockett and all the people that have actually been standing in the gap. Gavin Newsom, shout out to him as well, standing on business, as he needed to after that Kim Guilfoyle rug thing. That still gives me nightmares. It took me months to get that out of my thoughts. And my apologies for what I just did to your dreams. Shout out to everybody that's been standing up and opposing this and calling it out for what it is. But at the end of the day, I would love to see the voters try and make excuses for this. Yes, the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots with the dog photo. and the hashtag for their second wife. Yeah, those are the people that I want to hear explain away all of this. That would be great. Hey, Judge, you want to take us out?
If you're a Republican office holder and you haven't been called a racist, you probably hadn't done a thing.
Sure. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the way out. Now, it may come as a surprise to some of you, but I don't always record these videos, you know, clean from beginning to end. Thank you guys. What did I call it?
Sad. And you hate to see it. But more than that, you love to see it.
Well, I thought that might be content that some of you guys might be interested in. So members, be on the lookout for some outtake videos that are going to hit the timeline soon. I also want to send a shout out to everybody that's reached out to me at admin@reesewaters.com. I very much appreciate all your comments and suggestions. And I try and respond to as many as I can, but there was one in particular from Holly who said, "Hi Reese, I know you use Patreon for other reasons. I don't need that from you. I watch you on YouTube. Do you have a PayPal account?" In fact, I do. My PayPal, as well as my Cash App and my T app, are all in the descriptions to all of the videos. You can find them right there. Also, I want to send a shout out to Renee and Lenitra, who sent me these photos with their Reese Waters mugs, as well as this one. Wait a minute. No, that's not mine. Thank you guys so much for the pictures as well as the support. And if you would like to send in some photos or contribute or send me a note or anything like that, admin@reesewaters.com. Now, I know we have a lot of talent and skills in this community, and I'm looking for something in particular, because you'll notice in looking at the pictures around my website, a very robust, lustrous mane of hair. Well, times have changed. Yeah, I got my enhancement game turned up to the max, and I am looking for somebody who can recommend a good man unit. So if you know somebody, or if you are somebody who can recommend or even install a good man unit, go ahead and hit me up, but it's got to be via email, because we're going to keep that on the low. Yesterday, Cookie Bush. Tomorrow, cornrows.